If I said that hundreds of thousands of years ago, before there were cities, agriculture, cell phones, or even written language, humans were already tackling complicated issues, crafting tools, and making art, we tend to picture cavemen as grunting, fur-clad brutes clubbing animals and dragging around people. But that's farther from the truth than you can imagine. In this video, we're going to go back in time more than 2 million years ago to see what a day in the life of our Paleolithic ancestors was like. From sunrise to sunset, how did they make it through? What did they eat? Where did they live? And most importantly, what can we learn from them now? Let's get into the true story of early humans, one that's a whole lot more compelling than the legends we've heard.
Daybreak comes over a harsh terrain. A couple of humans emerge from the entrance of a limestone cave, starting their day as they have always done, some peering into the distance for signs of activity, others collecting sticks to rekindle the fire. This was no wasted dawn. It took vigilance to survive. That stereotypical picture of cavemen hauling clubs and grunting around. Far from it, their days were full of complexity, purpose, and adaptation. So, what did Paleolithic human beings do all day? Anyway, the Paleolithic era, lasting from about 2.6 million to 12,000 years ago, comprises more than 99% of our species' existence. It was a pre-farming, pre-cities, pre-writing era, but hardly static. Humans during this time fashioned tools, social organization, and even works of art. We know this world through archaeological evidence, stone tools, parts, bones, and the occasional preservation of something such as textiles or wood tools. Cave art and mobile sculptures suggest their inner lives. Ethnographic comparisons with contemporary hunter-gatherers provide us with additional insight, though we must be careful. Conditions thousands of years distant can be radically different. Paleolithic life varied by location. It changed with climate, geography, and time. The life of early Homo habilis in Africa was a far cry from that of Cro-Magnon artists in Ice Age Europe. Climate had a gigantic influence. Glacial times needed very different strategies than warmer, seashore environments. River groups perhaps subsisted more on fish, while interior dwellers hunted animals or gathered tubers and nuts. What brought together all Paleolithic humans was their lifestyle. They were hunter-gatherers living off acquiring wild food, a complex, challenging, and extremely skilled task. A normal day started with the sun. With no artificial lighting or alarms, the daily cycles came in sync with the natural dawn and dusk. Fire was important, reignited every morning from smoldering embers left safe overnight. Places such as Terra Ameda in France provide some evidence of sustained hearths, giving warmth, shelter, and a space to prepare food. The day began with the first of the day's immediate tasks. Was there sufficient food? Were there still sharp tools? Were there animals around? Water needed to be gathered often from springs or streams with animal bladders, woven baskets, or early pottery. Instead of a routine cycle, life proceeded according to need and season. Evidence from sites such as Gesher Banat Yaakov in Israel indicates planning according to seasonal fluctuation in flora and fauna. No 9 to 5. The day's rhythm combined short-term survival with long-term planning. Food gathering was the day's main task. Men often hunted, while women gathered, but this wasn't a strict divide. Evidence shows flexibility in roles, especially depending on local conditions. Midday could bring a rest, tool maintenance, or food prep. Then came the return. If the hunt was successful, meat was shared. If not, gathered plants often carried the group through. Evening brought the band together under firelight, telling stories, repairing tools, and tightening bonds. These fires did not merely serve to keep people warm, they were at the center of social life. Hunting itself changed. Early humans probably scavenged initially, but shortly became effective hunters. A 500,000-year-old horse bone found in Boxgrove in England shows a spear wound, unequivocal evidence of active hunting. With time, tools became more sophisticated. Wooden spears, spear throwers, then bows and arrows transformed distance and accuracy. But hunting was unreliable. Plants were more consistent. Tubers, fruits, seeds, nuts, all harvested with remarkable expertise. Dental plaque studies reveal evidence of varied, even medicinal, vegetation. Foraging was not guesswork, it was science disseminated across generations. Seasons determined diet. Spring meant greens and eggs. Summer, berries and young game. Autumn, nuts. Winter, stored food and hunting. Drying meat, excavation of storage pits, and freezing in cold environments all served to prolong food supplies. Paleolithic diets, although difficult at times, were nevertheless surprisingly healthy, frequently healthier than their early farmer counterparts. Cooking was a milestone. Although controversial, the control of fire for cooking goes back at least for 100,000 years. Cooking made more calories available and detoxified plants, providing a vital energy boost to humans. Tool-making was an ongoing chore. Stone blades became dull fast, requiring repair or replacement. Initial tools were simple, but by 1.76 million years ago, hand axes reflected symmetry and craftsmanship. Eventually, techniques of flaking enhanced control and precision. By 50,000 years ago, tools were extremely specialized: scrapers, needles, harpoons, and so on. Wood, bone, antler, and ivory added to stone. Although wood seldom survives, some of the spears and tools exhibit sensitive shaping and design. Antler was particularly valued: hard, resilient, and ideal for intricate work. Animal hides were scraped free of flesh, sewn with bone needles, and became warm clothing. And what of shelter? Caves were employed, but not exclusively. In sites such as Terra Meda, humans constructed big oval huts propped up on wooden posts. In Ukraine, mammoth skeletons served as foundations for homes of great size. Within, life was structured: fire hearths, sleeping quarters, tool-making areas, and areas for food preparation. Houses required upkeep, fires maintained, shelters mended, and waste handled. Some sites even evidence cleaned up refuse areas isolated from living quarters. Children were raised surrounded by everyday living, learning through observation, assisting, and mimicking. There is evidence to support close community care. Even severely injured individuals were cared for with compassion and social concern. Social life in the Paleolithic era was vibrant. Individuals lived in 20 to 30 person groups, typically extended families. These were not closed groups. Trade over long distances of materials such as obsidian and shells indicates communication systems across huge areas. Common feasts and shared tales around large communal fireplaces cemented social bonds. Art was paramount. In South Africa's Blombos Cave, ochre processing stretches back almost 100,000 years. By the Upper Paleolithic, cave art burst forth colorful depictions of animals, people, and symbols. Musical instruments such as bone flutes discovered in Germany and 43,000 years old played scales familiar even today. Drums, probably fashioned from hides or logs, added beat to rituals and ceremonies. Medicine also had a role. Some of the residue from plants on teeth was beneficial in healing. Cave paintings of hybrid animal-man creatures may represent early shamanic thought or states of altered consciousness. Violence did exist, however, but was not a frequent occurrence. Most skeletons do not exhibit trauma. With the lower population density and plentiful resources, competition was usually lacking. In reality, Paleolithic existence was a masterful adaptation. These early human beings weren't helpless survivors. They crafted their worlds, employing fire to control landscapes and enhance diversity, such as Aboriginal methods of fire use from 65,000 years ago. They were generalists, every individual a botanist, a tracker, a toolmaker, a healer, and a diplomat. Their tools, while primitive in appearance, had been honed over many generations. And above all, they spoke for themselves. Through art, music, myth, and ritual, they spoke of the origins of culture. So, what did cavemen spend their days doing? They hunted, they foraged, they created, they instructed, they sang, they healed, they strategized, and they changed with intelligence, creativity, and cooperation. Not brutish silhouettes of current humans, but amazing inventors who set the stage for all that we are today.